Hello, hello. I am having a chat today with Claudia, and Claudia is an amazing graphic designer, but she also teaches people how to get passive income from designing their own products and selling that on platforms like Creative Market. And I'm trying to explain it now, but I'm very sure she can explain it a lot better. So, hey, Claudia.
Hi. Yeah, basically, I have a brand called Heartmade.es, and it's where I do almost everything. So if you visit my website every now and then, it will be changing because sometimes I offer more of my graphic and web design services. Other times I focus more on my watercolor paintings. And lately I've been focusing a lot on teaching others because one of the best things I've done with my creativity is to sell the graphics and the things that I create as digital products so that people can download at any time, and I just receive passive income because I don't do anything to promote it or to deliver it or anything like that. So right now I'm teaching a lot of that topic to other creatives to help them do the same, basically. So yeah, it's a little bit complicated to explain what I do, but it's all under this bubble of me creating.
I love your watercolors. They're always so pretty, and I'm quite jealous of how
Thank you.
Creates. But yeah, I think it's such a good thing because a lot of times if people think creativity and more service-based, you get into graphic design or web design, and it's helping a client and doing a service for them and then moving on to the next. And there are so much more options. And I think that's an awesome thing to teach people because it's an easier way to
grow. Yeah.
To grow and to add to your money because it's not instead of, it's on top of.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So I was wondering, are there other ways you use your creativity in your business?
I think obviously I use creativity in everything I do, but I think looking back, because I started in 2013 as a freelance, so it's been many years now to go back and review. I think when I'm more free to do anything I want without following what, the gurus say or the proven methods and all of that, I come up with very creative ways to do things. Just yesterday, I was on a group call with the members of my 3-month program. And I remembered that there was a time in which I was sending newsletters that they were just stories, like fairy tale stories, but I was making them up and checking on old books. So I was, like using weird stories to connect them with my products. And I was designing it in a very beautiful and curated way. But if I had to do this now, I think I would be super stuck with what everyone is telling you, do this or do that, or say the things like this, or, So there are many moments in my career, we can say, in which I got rid of all that do's and don'ts, and I just used my creativity to do whatever I wanted.
I love that, making fairy tales and using that for letters. That's awesome.
I cannot say if it worked or not, but I definitely did it, and I think it's a way to use your creativity when you are,
And I think a lot of times we have so much creativity, and then we, like you said, we try to restrict it to what other people tell us we should do or we shouldn't do, or this is the way how to do it, when there's so many different ways to do things. And I think using our creativity, it makes it like even more us. And so it makes it easier for the right people to get attracted to you and to also just have joy in your business, because you've been in business since 2013. I've been in business since 2010. Like, you don't stay in business very long if you don't have fun and you just enjoy what you're doing. So yeah, I think that's such an awesome idea to just make stories out of your stories. So what is the biggest thing that you've learned from running a creative business?
Okay, I think the biggest thing I've learned, or one of the biggest things, because maybe if I think about this 2 hours from now, I would say another thing, but one of the things that comes to my mind is that it's a quote that when I wrote it, I was like, whoa, yeah, okay. You can do anything, but you cannot do everything. And for a long, long time, I was trying to do everything by myself. Like, when you are creative, you feel like you better do it yourself rather than paying, even if others are more experts. We love to learn, we love to try new things, we love to say, hey, I did this by myself. So the more we can do and the more we can say it's done by me, we feel it's the better, but no, it's not. So I think when I learned that lesson and I started hiring help and delegating some things, it was hard to change my mindset, but it really helped. And I think it's a lesson that I wished I had learned before.
I think that always is the case when it comes to hiring people. You always do it after you're already slammed and you kind of don't have the space anymore, or you realize that it could have been so much easier to do something if you would just have let someone else do it. And I like that quote. I think it's a really good point, and I think it's also connected to us trying to be everything for everyone.
Yeah.
Like we always want to please everyone and we want to help everyone, and then we make it harder for us to show who we are, but also we make it harder for the right people to find us because they can't figure out who we are and what we do and what we're actually good at. So I think it's really a good thing to, if you find a way to say, okay, this is what I do, and even within my business, these tasks might be part of my business, but they're not part of my core, and I'm just going to delegate them. And then these are just things that I don't do, that tasks that I don't do. I think it's, I think that's a really good thing to learn. And I agree that that's something that takes a while to learn.
Yeah, and I think it's a mindset that many creatives, artists, and people in the creative world think, or they have, which is that we believe until we don't make money from it, it's going to be a hobby, or it's going to be, it's not going to be business, so it's not worth investing on it. And I know I've been there. I see now many people there, and I'm like, no, don't think like that, because then it will take you longer until you can call it a business. But yeah, I see these repeating all over the place, and I think that's one of the reasons why we prefer to, invest $300 in a course that it's going to take us a year to implement, and then realize we are not really that good at that, even by having, all the methods and all the lessons. It could have been faster to just hire somebody for $300 to do it for you.
Yes, yeah, and it's also figuring out if you should have been doing it all along, but also, like you said, about people wondering if it's a hobby or a business. If you decided it's a business, to invest and to invest in yourself, and it doesn't always mean monetarily as well. A lot of times people say, well, I don't have the money, and that's okay, because if that's where you are, then that's okay. It's about investing the time, investing the energy in yourself to figuring out the next step and the next mindset thing and the next, just so you can grow, and it never ends. I hired a coach a few weeks ago again, just for more mindset stuff, and we've known each other from another coach who helped us more with the business part of things. So I think there's always more investing to do, and sometimes that's like products or tools or like services, more or more courses, things that you do yourself. Sometimes it's delegating, and we should be doing that a lot more than we are in general. And then there's times when it's more the mindset things, and just taking the time to grow and to I know I agree, I completely agree, and I think that's such an important thing that I wish too that I would have realized quite a few years back, but I also think it's part of growing is that you always will look back and think, oh gosh, I wish I would have known that a gazillion years ago. Okay, so if we're talking about things that we've learned and that we realize later on, are there things where you're like, well, that was a big fail that I learned from? It doesn't have to be your biggest fail, but is there something where you're like, oh gosh, I really wish I didn't have done that?
Yeah, I think there are many mistakes. I don't like to call them or think about them about fails. I don't know if it's just a translation thing, but to me, fail, it means like you really failed, but I consider I obviously did many mistakes, or there were things I didn't know, or I thought I was doing them right and they become something I wasn't expecting. But to mention a couple, the first one I would say would be to put myself out there as available for anything at any price. And this happened obviously at the beginning, but also in some moments in which financially I wasn't well enough. I found myself saying yes to projects I was used to say no, or to quote things for half of what I was used to charge. And if it had been just that one time, it would be okay. But I see that after doing that, those clients, obviously, they were very happy with what they got for the price they paid. So they came back and back and back. And that's the thing I regret doing, not because of the first time, but how I positioned myself to their eyes as the cheap person to go and get great things, because obviously, even if it was at a cheaper price, I was doing the best I could. So the service was much higher than it was underrated for sure. So I think the hard time was afterwards, having to tell no, or having to tell them, hey, now I want to charge this, then saying why, or saying no if you did it once at this time. So having to have those conversations, which I hate to have because I hate to speak about money. So imagine having to say, no, I want to charge more, or having these discussions in which you feel they are totally not valuing your work because once you put it very cheap. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes I regret I did. And another one, and I think they are connected, but it's about boundaries. I struggle a lot to say no. I rarely say no. I always say yes because I'm motivated about something. There is always something that's motivating me. Sometimes it's the idea, sometimes it's the connection with that person, sometimes it's that I see myself doing something new. Whatever it is, I struggle to say no. And when it comes to setting boundaries, for example, not saying how many reviews I will do on a design, or giving my phone number and then having crazy messages on WhatsApp, which I consider it's a personal chat, on weekends. These situations that I know they were my fault because I didn't position myself at the beginning, say, hey, this is how we are going to be working. You can contact me through here. You only have these reviews, and after this number of reviews, you will pay that extra. Now, of course, I'm doing this, but there were many years in which I wasn't doing it. So
and I agree. It's also communication. It's it's being clear on what you need, or what you don't want to do, or how you feel, or yeah, boundaries is a thing, but it's like even before both of them are connected to communication about saying, okay, hey, I'm doing this cheaper this time, but it's a one-time deal. Next time it'll be this much. And I agree. I've done it so many times where you're just like not clear on that it's a special deal, or not clear on how much they're getting. Or I remember one time where I was still doing like all these things that are too many things. And I actually was doing a big project around an event for a client, and they also wanted to have a little bit of video done, and I was doing PR and social media and communication for them. And I said, no problem, I'll video as well. Like I can, yeah, that's like, sure. And I did that. And there were two problems, because one, they didn't expect me to do it. And so they were confused with me doing it, but also they were confused with that they had to pay extra for music rights and things like that, because they had music in the video. And that was totally on me not communicating beforehand. Hey, okay, so you wanted this extra, but you wanted it cheap, because of course they wanted it cheap. So we decided to just keep it in-house and let me do it. But it will be this much extra for me. Like after, like looking back, I'm like, okay, yeah, I could have been so much clearer in that process about just what we were doing, because we were doing it to help them. But and they were expecting someone else to do it, but it would have been like 3 times as expensive. And I'm not sure that they would have wanted to pay that. But at least I would have given them the choice and explained why and how. So yeah, I agree, like boundaries and communication, they are so connected, and it's one of the hardest things to learn. And it's, I think still after 11 years, it's one of those things that I'm still learning. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I really should have said that differently. But yeah, I think it's also at the same time one of your biggest wins, because you're realizing it. And so you are able to maybe catch it a lot of times now beforehand, where I think if you don't do it really wrong at some point, you keep in like the middle ground, and you like, okay, well, never mind, I'll do it again this way. And then you haven't really learned from it, so you'll do it again the next time you do it the same way.
That's true.
So we talked a little bit about wins already. What are some of your biggest yay moments? Think that you were really happy that happened?
I think one of the things I always say, it's the best thing I've done for my business, it's when I started selling digital products, because, well, that's basically why I teach it, because I really believe it's amazing. You put something out there, obviously you don't get the fruits automatically. It's kind of reversing what you've always done, because usually you wait until you get a client, you close the quote, and you start working. But in this case, it's the other way around. You just create whatever you want, you put it out there, and sometime you get a sale. But I'm so glad I did it, because, for example, when I started traveling, it was much comfortable to have those digital products rather than physical products that I used to have, because I've done so many things, and I've sold also like handmade things like soaps and clothing and woolen wall hangings and pencil cases. So you can imagine anything, I've done it. So there was a time I was traveling with my sewing machine and all the fabrics and everything, until I realized it made no sense if I wanted to travel much often. So switching to digital products really allowed me that. And then, for example, when the pandemic came with COVID, I had another business that it was all focused on wedding invitations, and all weddings stopped. So I had no income at all, because I was focused so much on that I had no other clients for other things. And I was so glad to get those sales every month and commissions from all the platforms that I had been selling, because obviously it wasn't enough to survive, but it was much more than anything, you know. It was a relief to have that. So that's one of the biggest things I consider I've done. Also, in terms of wins or moments that I consider an achievement, there is one of these platforms in which I sell, which is called Minted. I don't know if you know it, but it's an American brand and they sell stationery, and they work a little bit different because you cannot upload anything you want. You participate on challenges, and if they pick you, then they sell your products. So I had been participating since 2014, 15, 16, I can't remember, but years ago. Yeah, long time ago. And then in 2018, they celebrated their 10th anniversary, and they wanted to do a retreat, a creative retreat. And I wanted to be there, but it was in Las Vegas, and I'm from Barcelona, and I was in Barcelona at that time. I just came back from traveling around Asia, but I was in Barcelona. And obviously there are some designers on Minted that get some priority because they sell so much. So those had a free invitation for sure. And they had their flights and the hotel and everything paid. And I wasn't there. I was not one of those. But there were, I think, 75 places that they would run a lottery. And from everyone who was not on that group, we had the chance to participate, and we had the chance to win that prize. And I got it. And I won a flight ticket and a hotel paid in probably the highest quality I've ever been in Las Vegas. So it was an amazing experience, and it all came from, you know, participating on those challenges. Also from there, I had a friend and she asked me to do her website, and obviously it was a creative retreat. So I met many people, I learned a lot. So this is one of those moments in which I was so happy and celebrating with everyone that this happened.
That is awesome. And I think it also shows what happens if you just take a risk, because if you wouldn't have tried, you definitely wouldn't have made it. I love that story, by the way. I didn't know that story, and I really loved it. And yeah, I think a lot of times we can hold ourselves back with all the, oh, it probably wouldn't happen. Oh, they will never pick me.
Yeah,
I'm not good enough.
There is so many other people doing it already. Why should anyone purchase from me? That's one of the questions that it always comes up in my classes, in my webinars, everywhere. People ask me this, and it's like, I don't have the answer, but it happens.
Yeah. No, and it's also very logical, because it's not like we're the only website designer out there, or we're the own, but at the same time, we all have our own creativity and our own vision and our own little extra thingies. And if we just believe, this sounds so corny, but if we just believe in ourselves, it's so much easier to make someone else believe in ourselves as well. Yes.
Yeah.
You mentioned before that you have like a 3-month program and some other smaller program. Could you tell a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So I have many mini trainings, we can call them like that. They are not mini because of the content, they are mini because they are short, but you learn, something very specific. And then I have a big course that it's all about digital products and passive income. And basically it's to help you get started. It's called The Beginner's Guide to Passive Income. And from there, I realized that I wanted to run something bigger. And I came up with this idea of 12 weeks in which I will mentor you, and I will basically take your hand and help you decide which products you should focus on, which platforms to sell. So it's like implementing that course, but with me by your side. And then with those members, I have weekly calls, I have office hours every week. They can chat privately with me or in the group. And it's great to see them evolving in, enough time, not just a couple of weeks or having them as students and never knowing what they are doing. It's much better than that. And I'm going to finish this week with the first members from this round. And I have plans to launch it again in a month or so. Yeah, month or two. And hopefully there will be new people who I can help. And yeah, basically it's all the same. It's, helping people realize they can do it and helping them know how to do it, but in different levels. One, it's you do it by yourself. The other, it's I'm there and I'm constantly helping you.
I think that's such a great idea because I have thought about passive digital products once or twice or 20 times before as well, but it's a difficult world to get started in if you have no clue what you're doing. And I was just talking before our call with someone else, and we were saying, like, we always have so many new ideas and there's always new things that we come up with, but then you need to know how to deal with that, because if you are trying to figure that all out by yourself while you're trying to run all the other parts of your business, it becomes a really difficult, big thing, and you either don't do it, which could be a pity if it does fit with your business and your brand, or you do it, but it takes away too much time from the other things that you should be doing. So yeah, I really love that you have the smaller options for those that are getting started, and the almost more delegating kind of way. You're still doing it yourself, but you're getting the help to get through it faster, and
yeah,
and with more certainty that you're doing the right things. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Claudia, for being here.
Thanks to you for inviting me. It's been fun talking to you.
It's been fun. I agree. Okay, so I will see you all next week. And don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget to subscribe to Claudia as well. I will leave a link below. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.